Autistic kids often have difficulty understanding perspectives. Here are some suggestions on how to explain to them. Perspective is a way of looking at things. It means that you try to understand how someone else feels or thinks about something. For example, if your friend is sad because they lost their toy, you can try to see things from their perspective and understand why they are sad. It's like taking a step back and looking at things from a different angle. It's important to try to understand other people's perspective because it helps us to see things from their point of view and understand why they might think or feel a certain way. For example, imagine that you and your friend are playing with a toy. Your friend wants to play with the toy a certain way, but you want to play with it a different way. It can be hard to understand why your friend wants to play with the toy that way, but if you try to see things from their perspective, you might be able to understand why they want to play with it that way. Here's an example of how you can explain perspective to a child. Imagine that you and your friend are standing on opposite sides of a tall building. From your perspective, the building looks really tall and you might be scared to climb it, but from your friend's perspective, the building might not look as tall and they might not be scared at all. That's because you are looking at the building from different perspectives. Understanding someone else's perspective can help us to understand why they might feel or think a certain way. I hope this helps. Do you have any questions? It can be hard for anyone to see things from someone else's perspective, but it's especially hard for children who are still learning about the world. That's okay. It's something that takes practice and it gets easier with time. Is there anything else you would like to know? Joint attention is when two people focus their attention on the same thing or event at the same time. It's an important social skill that helps us to communicate and connect with other people. For example, if you and your friend are looking at a bird flying in the sky, you are both showing joint attention. You are both looking at the same thing and paying attention to it together. Here's an example of how you can explain joint attention to a child. Joint attention is when you and another person pay attention to the same thing at the same time. It's a way to share experiences with other people and communicate with them. For example, if you and your friend are looking at a picture in a book, you are showing joint attention. You are both looking at the same thing and paying attention to it together. Empathy is when you try to understand and share the feelings of someone else. It's like putting yourself in someone else's shoes and trying to see things from their perspective. For example, if your friend is feeling sad, you can try to imagine how it would feel to be sad and then try to be kind and supportive to your friend. Empathy is an important part of being a good friend and getting along with others. It helps us to be more understanding and compassionate towards others, and it can also help us to feel more connected to other people. It's okay if it's hard for you to understand how someone else is feeling at first. With practice, it can get easier to show empathy towards others. Is there anything else you would like to know? And 6-year-old autistic kids want to show a page to others, but he didn't put the page in position that other can see. Instead, he thinks other can see what he's look at. How to explain to him so that he can understand. It's common for children, especially young children, to have difficulty understanding that other people's perspectives can be different from their own. Here are a few things you can try to help your child understand. Use visual aids. You can use drawings or pictures to show your child how different people can see things from different angles. Use examples. You can use examples from your child's own experience to help them understand. For example, you can say, "Remember when we went to the park and you were on the swings? You could only see what was in front of you, but I could see the whole playground." Practice. You can try doing activities with your child that involve taking turns and looking at things from different perspectives. For example, you can play I Spy and have your child try to guess what you are looking at from different angles. Be patient. It can take time for children to understand concepts like perspective and empathy. It's important to be patient and to keep reinforcing the idea through practice and repetition. Here is a simple story that might help to explain the concept of shame to an autistic child. Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Jack who loved to play with his friends. One day, Jack and his friends were playing with their toy cars in the sandbox. Jack was having so much fun that he didn't realize he was being a little bit careless with his toys. He accidentally knocked over his friend's toy castle and all of the toy people fell out. Jack's friend was very upset. She started to cry and told Jack that he had ruined her castle. Jack felt terrible. He had never meant to hurt his friend's feelings. He felt a strange, uncomfortable feeling in his stomach. He realized that he was feeling ashamed. Jack apologized to his friend and helped her to rebuild her castle. As they worked together, Jack's friend forgave him and they continued to play happily. Jack learned that shame is a feeling that we have when we do something that hurts someone else's feelings or makes them upset. He also learned that it's important to say sorry and try to make things right when we make a mistake.